What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy JFlood201 back with another reaction, and we got the Penn State fraternity Sigma Chi is arrested in a cocaine trafficking ring. Allegedly, they were buying and purchasing large quantities of crack cocaine and powder cocaine, and bringing it from areas like Philadelphia, New York, and even in some cases areas of New Jersey, and they were packaging it, cutting it, bagging it for distribution at their fraternity house. At least 2 fraternity houses, so there might have been another fraternity in on the ring. We'll find out here. We're going to watch a couple news clips and we're going to react to it. I'm going to give you my take on the whole situation, but let's go over the facts. In total, there are 14 people arrested, 13 of which have ties or are former or are current Penn State students, fraternity members, and I believe in one case, adjunct faculty of some sort. But we're gonna let the professionals tell it because this is not official news. I do want to say that, this is a reaction channel. We react to the news, we don't report the news, all right? But as it breaks, you can come here for all your crime, organized crime, street politics, and even some hip-hop and gaming reactions. But let's jump right into it. So this is the Fox local New York channel covering it earlier today.
It does affect a lot of people here in New York and New Jersey because Penn State, for all of the out-of-state kids who go there, New York and New Jersey send the most kids there of any other states in the nation. So let's take a look here. This is a major investigation. We're following this out of Penn State.
Yeah, so Delta Upsilon and Sigma Chi were the 2 fraternities. Delta Upsilon is the other fraternity. I guess they were in on it.
14 people, including 13 current or former students.
Look at that. Look at that hair, huh? Like a freaking chia pet.
Facing charges in an alleged cocaine trafficking operation.
We got Clark Kent.
Investigators say cocaine was brought in from New York and Philadelphia, then cut, packaged, and distributed largely through 2 fraternity houses. And it sounds like there may have even been some kids who were pledging to be in those fraternities who may have been involved with that. We want to have former NYPD Sergeant Greg Sanfilippo.
This kid can't even grow facial hair. That's
join
wild.
us to talk a little bit more about this investigation. Good morning to you, Greg.
Good morning, Dan.
So when you saw this sort of headline here,
damn, his collar's fucked up.
What was your first thought? I mean, this is a significant allegation involving multiple students at 2 fraternity houses. What was your top line reaction to this?
The first thing that came to mind, not only law enforcement background, being a parent, is this goes beyond just some students making bad decisions, right? This is a full organized crime enterprise that crosses multiple states.
All right, so I'm gonna basically fill in what he's about to say. The only reason this is a big deal is 2 parts. It's what he just said. Crossing state lines, affecting interstate commerce is what the feds like to call it. Let's say you come to New York, you purchase the cocaine, right? And then you travel into New Jersey, distribute it in Newark, travel into Philly, distribute it in Kensington, right? That's 3 states. All right? What you have to understand is what the feds are actually pissed about is if this were a legitimate product like tobacco, right, and you were buying it and selling it, right, that's against the law too, as long as the feds aren't getting their tax money. So when it's an illegal enterprise, there's absolutely no incentive, right, for the feds to treat this as anything other than, like, just affecting interstate commerce. You know, you're stealing money. You know, you're plundering, you know, the feds, right? So like it's illegal. So not just that, while it's not something like tobacco, right? So it doesn't affect necessarily interstate commerce. The fact that you're crossing state lines is it's national trafficking, right? It's like, you know, like you're transnational at that point, right? The nation of the United States, right? So, I mean, that's a big deal. That's a federal offense, you know? That is a big deal federal offense. And then the second part, so this is what people don't understand, is that this is great for two parts: law enforcement and the news cycle, all right? Law enforcement gets to say, oh, they're cracking down, they're tough on crime, right? We're not just going after these immigrant communities and black gangs and, you know, cartel associated gangs. We're tough on crime. Look, we treat everybody fairly. Look, we went after the frat bros at Penn State, right? We're not letting anybody get away with it, right? So it's kind of like they're using them as an example to basically be like, no, we're tough, we're fair, all of these things. And then the news cycle, I mean, the headlines that this is creating, the fact that it's all over the news, it's great. If news is slow, right? If Trump isn't saying anything ridiculous or tweeting any threats this week, you know, if people are sick of the news of, you know, apartheid and war, you know, in Israel, I mean, what they get to say, what they get to do is they now get to sell newspapers, sell news clips about this Penn State stuff. In actuality, is there high-level crime going on beyond the drug distribution, which is essentially nonviolent, right? And beyond the fact that it's interstate, you know, it's across state lines. The fact of the matter is that these are college kids trying to make a lot of money, you know, and are they making a lot of money? No, they're not. You know, I've seen some of the reports of how much money was seized, and you know, this is much more about law enforcement doing the long game and sticking it to a community that, you know, is not often targeted, because I think I'm being accurate when I say this. From all of the details in the police reports, I think the total amount is like $73,000 seized. So less than $100,000. Less, I repeat that, less than $100,000 seized in terms of cash. I don't know how many drugs were seized, but that is a drop in the bucket, buddy. Are you kidding me? Cartels distribute drugs, and we're talking billions. Billions and billions. We're talking enough money to rig elections, to you know, like the amount of money that narco trafficking sees it's a huge part of the world economy, not just this rinky-dink operation in Penn State. All right, if these guys were making less than $100,000 and they were taking this level of risk, that is pathetic. Pathetic.
Multiple organizations and people involved, and the sourcing of the drugs is involved with you know, international drug trafficking. So this is much larger and is indicative of a problem that's not only...
Yeah, if they were connected to international drug rings, do you think they wouldn't be flipping? If that's their hope, is to get these college kids to flip on like Pablo or Juan, whoever is supplying them with these large shipments, first off, it's not going to happen. Secondly, if it does happen, I highly doubt you're going to catch these guys, because this is all over the news, buddy. All over the news.
Not only at Penn State, but at other major universities.
Interesting you say that. I want to expand on that point in just a second about the possibility that, maybe these cartels have their hands in operations potentially at some other schools. Certainly something
I know. I was
that
arrested at a
investigators,
college
maybe now some of those alarm bells are going off. But what we heard from the district attorney or the state attorney in Pennsylvania is that this is a coordinated and highly profitable trafficking crew.
Is it?
When you hear that, what does that mean to you, the level of coordination?
Prove that. That's a wild statement.
That it needs to have a kingpin, someone behind the organization and the strategy behind it. So when we look at this and when the onion gets peeled back, and if this is not an isolated to just one campus, which I strongly believe is happening at a lot of campuses, it's a fertile breeding ground for trafficking. Right, you have students.
If you think that every campus has at least one fraternity that's bagging crack, you're wild, bro. Like, this is, I'm not saying that this is like, that there aren't drug dealers on college campuses. Yes, there are drug dealers at every college campus, and there are kids bagging out in every dorm room or whatever. But this seems like it was, to a degree, a very organized and, thought through process. I mean, they were having the pledges bag this out. So there's also this element of like, how serious were they taking this? I'm telling you that there's not a lot of money attached to this. They keep saying that this could be attached to like cartel stuff. That's a wild claim that they are just saying for news clips. I almost guarantee that Agostino Abatiello and Thomas Robertson, simply were not, they're not Scarface. You know what I mean? They're not Tony Montana.
They're away from that structure of home for the first time, the financial challenges involved, and just being open towards that idea, the allure of that quick money.
An individual here is the one student not involved, but the understanding is that they may be the father of one of the suspects. And you talk about the kingpin or the alleged leader's father. It's just remarkable to hear some of those allegations. I mean, you see this one individual here is the one student not involved, but the understanding is that they may be the father of one of the suspects. And you talk about the kingpin or the alleged leaders here, Agostino Abatiello, who I believe is from New York, maybe even from Long Island, and Thomas Robinson allegedly led the operation supplying the cocaine. Italian. Investigators say other members of the group handled cutting and packaging of the drugs, primarily at the Delta Epsilon and Sigma Chi fraternity houses. So,
he's never been in a fraternity. He said Sigma Chi and Upsilon. Bro, wow. Tell me you've never been to a frat house without telling me you've never been to a frat house. Like, you're not in Greek life at all. Sig Chi, right? And Upsilon.
These fraternities, and we're hearing that maybe some of the people who were pledging the fraternities actually had to do some of that when it comes to cutting up the product.
The pledges are going to rat on you
things along those lines.
Dude, that's crazy.
What do you think of that? I mean, that this could have been part of the
and you're making me bag
process
crack, and I'm not making money, and I might not get in the fraternity. What the fuck am I doing this for?
When you hear about that structure, you want to find out in this investigation where were signs that could have been picked up along the way with criminal intelligence or protective intelligence. Very challenging in a campus environment, because in Penn State's case, it's a practical city in and of itself, with a campus safety department, which
if they were making a lot of money,
small town police departments.
I think they just probably busted them when they weren't making a lot of money. If I'm accurate with the $73,000, that's what I read today. Is it only $73,000 was seized? That's the case. That's really not a lot of money, right? And you got to think like they're making more than that, right? Like on a good day, they have to be making more than that. Penn State, you got Philly, you got Penn State. Like, it's like you are in a great hub.
Organization there, the coordination challenge between you mentioned the district attorney, for Pennsylvania, and which is private. A lot of college campuses are private organizations. This is a state organization, but the coordination is so challenging between all those different organizations. And, it's key to find out where we could have seen signs prior to this where it wasn't such a big organization.
I mean, I know some of this will obviously come out in the court filings
Why are landlords
in
using
days
these
to come.
strange
And again,
pouches
for anyone who is just joining us here, what we are tracking is this major drug bust involving several former and a few current members at Penn State. A major drug investigation, 14 people, including 13 current and former students facing charges in an alleged cocaine trafficking ring. Investigators say cocaine was brought in from New York and Philadelphia, then cut, packaged, and distributed largely through 2 fraternity houses. A lot of students who were...
All right, we get it. I don't think that's going to be a good clip, so here we go. This is the, I believe, the Attorney General of PA talking about it.
I'm Attorney General Dave Sunday, and we're here in State College today to announce charges against more than a dozen individuals in connection with a drug trafficking operation revolving around a pair of fraternities for Penn State University students. All but one of the charged defendants were Penn State University students at or around the time of this alleged criminal conduct. These charges were the result of a long-term investigation between the office.
I will say that, this had to be the result of a long-term investigation because they have a lot, like how they got everybody and all sweat, like they were watching these kids for a minute and these kids had no idea.
Of Attorney General, Bureau of Narcotics Investigation, State College Police Department, and a pair of statewide investigating grand juries impaneled by my office. What we learned during this investigation was that between 2023 and 2024, large amounts of cocaine, kilos, were brought from Philadelphia and New York to State College, where they were cut and packaged for sale primarily to Penn State students. The 2 main dealers, the top of the chain, if you will, were senior members of the Delta, Upsilon, and Sigma Chi fraternities. Agostino Abatiello was at the very top of the chain. Thomas Robinson was a rung below that on the ladder. And this poster here shows Operation Drugs Unlimited, and it shows the hierarchy of the organization. The evidence presented to the grand jury led to a recent presentment and recommendation of charges against 14 defendants. The evidence showed that cocaine was primarily packaged at the fraternity houses and that packaging was done by fraternity brothers and oftentimes pledges. In fact, we found a pattern of events that showed cutting and bagging cocaine was, for some pledges, an indoctrination into the Delta Upsilon and Sigma Chi fraternities. Before I get into further details on the investigation and conduct, let me tell you about the charges. And I want to emphasize that all of these individuals are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty.
I love how they have to say that, but like they make it damn sure that they let you know that they think they're guilty.
Agostino Abatiello, Thomas Robinson, and 2 others, Mohammed Harabi and Lars Ziepfat, are charged with felony corrupt organizations because this was a coordinated and organized cocaine trafficking operation with regular trips to those source cities and large amounts of cocaine being brought back to these fraternities. They are also charged with conspiracy, dealing in proceeds of unlawful activity, and related offenses.
Where's the manufacturing charge?
A 5th person, Robert Zanola, is charged with felony conspiracy and criminal use of communication facility.
All right, yeah, so this guy was texting them, letting them know where to go. He was talking to them about a conspiracy and use of a telecommunications. That basically means they didn't see him do anything. He might not have ever even set foot in either of the locations, neither of the fraternity houses, but because they got him on, text message and maybe wiretap, he's cooked.
And related misdemeanors. These are the 5 primary dealers. The 8 other student-age defendants in this case have been charged with misdemeanor counts of drug possession and paraphernalia. The only non-student...
Yo, that's wild. Wait, so these charges are baby charges. Wait, they're... So only 6... Wait. Only 8 people got trafficking charges or possession with intent to distribute or anything like that, right? And then the rest that probably flipped on them got misdemeanor charges and possession. I don't know what possession gets you in the state of Pennsylvania. I know it's a Commonwealth, but up here, thankfully, possession is like a nonviolent crime. It doesn't really mandatory. You're not going to serve jail. Like, there's no mandatory minimum. There's no mandatory minimum for possession. I caught a possession with intent to distribute charge. They said I got 1 to 3, but that I qualify for drug court, which is like probation. It's super strict probation, but it's probation. So these guys are going to get on some sort of form of probation unless it's their second offense or something like that. And what's crazy is that it's wouldn't that be considered like a dangerous substance, a dangerous or a deadly substance? I guess maybe there's no fentanyl involved. Like, this is like they haven't tested the drugs yet. You just gotta wonder like how they come up with the charges and why those kids got like baby charges, whereas the other 8 people are gonna get like, they're talking way more like these are football numbers, right? Like, 12 to 20, 20 to 40. If they got you if they have you like taking trips across state lines, that's gotta be federal. It looks like they're trying to keep it within the state. Who knows what's gonna happen and how serious this is gonna get. This is so little information that you have to understand that like they could be facing a lot of time, or they could be like, they're not really that, it's not really gonna be that bad. Although, listen, 7 years is a long fucking time. I'm not trying to say that years isn't serious. It's just, you gotta wonder, like, these kids are gonna get lawyers, these kids are gonna get letters written on their behalf, good character testimony. Like, these are college students.
In charge is Thomas Robinson's father, Paul Robinson.
I have to be honest with you, it's hard not to relate to this case, considering like what happened in my case and like how just directly identical some of this stuff is. And I'm trying to tell you, like, if these kids like get good lawyers, they fess up, they take a plea, they could get a good deal out of this. I'm not saying that they should do that. Always reject your first plea if you got a good lawyer and they're on board with that. Don't just get scared and take the first plea agreement. But like, this is a really interesting. It sounds like 4 people are getting slaps on the wrist, and the other 8 are like, with all this show of force, of all of this like news coverage and stuff, they're basically trying to make these kids feel like they're screwed. Like they have no options. They're royally screwed. When the reality is, we have to see the evidence. Like, it's so easy to get a grand jury to indict. You can indict a ham sandwich, right? That's the famous quote. But it's much harder to take it to trial and get a jury of your peers to say guilty.
Who we allege took steps to conceal evidence, including a safe containing drugs and cash, and obstruct this investigation. All are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. I know there may be many questions about the university in regards to these students and this conduct. This is very serious criminal conduct. There was nothing junior or childlike about this type of conduct. This was an upper-level trafficking organization for this region in Pennsylvania. In fact, multiple witnesses who testified in front of the grand jury referred to Battiello as the largest dealer of cocaine for Penn State University students. Regarding the university's knowledge or actions in response to this conduct, in consideration of the confidential nature of the grand jury proceedings and ongoing active prosecutions, I can say this: we did not hear of any drug packaging happening on Penn State's campus. Again, the packaging happened at off-campus fraternity houses. And the actual drug dealing was largely from friend to friend, fraternity brother to fraternity brother, acquaintance to acquaintance, and at fraternity houses and or during parties or social engagements.
when I went through menopause. My hair was so thin.
Yo, like, they'll be like, yeah, this is a huge deal. This is a major trafficking ring. But they were pretty much only selling to, like, their friends at parties. Like, what? Do you hear? Like, I can already hear the holes in this case or in the narrative that they're trying to create about these students and how big of a deal it is. It's like, on the one hand, you're like, this is a really big deal. And then on the other hand, you're like, but remember, you know, Penn State's not really at fault, and they were just frat guys being frat guys. Like, wild.
I could barely fit my hair in a
After the
ponytail.
ad, let's hear the rest of his statement.
With regard to parents that might be watching this and thinking about what's happening at the school, I just want...
Oh, I don't care. All right, so here we go. Let's check out the evidence that's been collected. So this is the co-pilot search of the evidence that's been collected. It should reflect some of the tweets and some of the stuff that we're reading. Perhaps motive could have been notoriety, being drug kingpins on campus, using social engineering to engage pledges who'd keep it secret, imply knowing chance of being caught. Yeah. You know, absolutely. That's a great comment line to you. You're right. Here, let me try to sign into the chat real quick. Alright. So I can write back to you guys. But let's read this co-pilot. Let's read the co-pilot evidence that has been collected. Okay, so controlled buys. Obviously, we know that they've got controlled buys. They basically said as much. Right? They basically said as much. We knew that they had controlled buys. We knew this. How do we know this? Well, you're not like that is, you know, narco policing 101 is a controlled buy. It's the same for anything. Anytime that they have a CI, anytime that there's like a confidential informant, anytime that there's like, they said that they had witnesses testifying at this grand jury indictment, those witnesses are probably either CIs or cooperating informants that were threatened or coerced by, I shouldn't say coerced and threatened. It was heavily suggested to them that if they wanted their cocaine possession case to go away, or if they wanted mom and dad, you know, if they wanted the police to like let's say you get busted for possession. You're speeding, you get a DUI, right? They find some cocaine in your car. You want the DUI, the speeding, and the cocaine to go away? Well, tell us where you got it, right? Boom. And these kids tell the police, well, actually, this frat that I'm in, you know, is distributing all this cocaine. Anyway, so the control buys. An informant began purchasing cocaine from Thomas Robertson in September of 2024 via Snapchat with payments sent through Venmo. Oh my God, it's all there. It's all there. Police observation of Robinson at the Delta Upsline House recovered a Ziploc bag of suspected cocaine. Multiple controlled buys were conducted between September 24 and December 24, leading to Robinson's arrest. Digital communications. Snapchat messages, Venmo transactions, and records were used to trace orders, pricing, and payment methods. These showed Robinson selling large amounts of cocaine, with the smallest unit being a half an ounce. So half an ounce. Wow, bro, that's what? That's like what, 6 or 7 grams? Wait, no. So 4 times 3. What's 4 times 3.5? Boy, I'm not good at this. 8, 16, so 16 ounces plus. Yeah, like it's, all right. So an eighth is 3.5. So an 8 ball of cocaine is 3.5 ounce or 3.5 grams. If he's selling the smallest as a half an ounce, it's been a long time since I did drugs, guys, as you can tell. Thank God, praise the Lord, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But all right, so an eighth, so 4/8, 4 times 3.5. Yeah, it's about 16, whatever. Sorry, guys, you could do that math on your own. But that's how much he was selling as the smallest unit, which is, you know, that's decent for cocaine. That's not small numbers. You know what I mean? That is hundreds of dollars, maybe even thousands, you know, per transaction. Recovered cocaine, packaging materials, and paraphernalia received from the fraternity house and personal locations. In some cases, evidence was hidden in safes or in other concealed containers. Listen, if you've never been to a frat house, they have all sorts of like little secret hidey holes and stuff like that. It's not just for hazing, it's also for stuff like this. But like, it all kind of goes back to how old some of these houses are and how like seasonal they are. Like, you know, you never knew what the last group of brothers were into, you know, compared to what people are doing now. And so there's going to be plenty of places to hide stuff. Witness testimony. Multiple witnesses, including fraternity members and the informant, testified before a grand jury. They only have one informant? Testified before a grand jury. They described the operation structure, the roles of senior members like Agostino Abatiello and Thomas Robinson. The involvement of pledges. Wow. Financial records. Yeah, well, the financial records are all there in fucking Venmo. That's why, listen, if you are going to, like, do this stuff, do it in cash. Do it in cash. And don't do it over the phone. Right? Don't do it over the phone. From what I understand, unless it's the feds, it's a lot harder to get a wiretap for FaceTime than it is to get a wiretap for text messages and for phone calls. That being said, it's really not that crazy. Like, so to reply to Chris's crack is common. So like, the difference between crack and the difference between cocaine is simply the baking part of it. Most cocaine that is sold, if not all cocaine that is sold, certainly to white people like this, unless you're getting it from someone, a black or brown person, for lack of a better phrase, right? Like, it's crack. Like you got to understand, the first thing you do when you buy cocaine is turn it into crack so that you stretch your profit. It's just that simple. There's hard and then there's soft. And 9 times out of 10, what soft is people who bought hard, cut it, and then broke it down to make it look like soft. Now, is that good? No, it's not good. There still is a difference between cocaine and crack in terms of how you consume it, right? But if you're buying cocaine, you're buying crack. Like I think that we all get caught up in, especially like millennials like myself, we get caught up in the distinction between crack and cocaine. And the reality is once you jump into the streets and you actually see this stuff where you buy cocaine for the first time to sell to another person, let's just say hypothetically, right? You quickly realize that like there's no difference between hard and soft in terms of the actual substance. It's very much like in the consumer's eyes. So am I selling hard to someone who's going to smoke rock, or am I selling soft to a girl who wants to do a couple bumps in the bathroom, right? Like, that's the big difference. The actual difference is chemically, it's not really there, other than one is like, probably cut with baking soda and solidified, and the other one is just broken down, but still is going to have a lot of that baking soda cut or whatever else they're stretching it with. Scope of operation, forensic analysis, purity, quantity, packaging. So they're not giving us too much of this stuff, but prosecutors allege the operation was from 2023 to 2024, sourcing cocaine from Philly and New York, cutting it and packaging it at fraternity houses, and distributing it through Penn State. Evidence shows a hierarchy with 2 main suppliers, multiple handlers, and at least 8 other participants, including pledges. That's where they're going to get you with all this organization stuff, where they can get you with the, interstate commerce, transnational distribution. Like, they can use all these big phrases and words because of this right here. The structure alone, organized, hierarchy, when they use words like that, they're setting you up for maybe a RICO, but definitely something that is going to be like, look, this is like the same as like a gang takedown. This is a drug ring. It's not just a drug bust, right? Yeah, pledges is wild, right? Like the idea of hierarchy, right? It's built into the fraternity's like framework. The framework of a fraternity is pledges, brothers, and then like alums, right? At the tippy top, right? And so this hierarchy's already there. And so while it would, in some ways, you can see why they chose to do it this way, it's also going to backfire on them when it comes time to take it to trial, because it's going to be a lot easier to prove, you know, structure, you know, this sentences and guideline sentences for things like trafficking or manufacturing. Those are going to be things that you want to use a plea deal usually to get out of, or to buffer those kind of charges and numbers from the indictment with a good lawyer who's going to be like, listen, my client's just like a good kid. He got messed up. He's trying to make a lot of money. You know what I mean? All the social pressure from being a fraternity member at a prestigious university like Penn State. It is a wild scenario, but I was really hoping that we could see some of the stuff about how much money was confiscated, because on Twitter and on Instagram, from the news articles that I saw, I have to say, I didn't see a lot of money. I did not see a lot of money in there. Combination control buys, digital record, physical seizures, witness. All right. How much money? Let's do it. Let's do how much money? How much money was confiscated in Penn State cocaine bust? Yeah, I knew it. Look at this. Look at this. It's nothing. This total came from 5 specifically priced cocaine purchases. Look at this. 73,000. 73,000, 50,000, 18,000, 22,000. Listen, I'm not saying that that's not a lot of money. That's a lot of money for their age. But if you're trying to tell me that this is a sophisticated drug ring and they topped out at the $120,000 mark, then what are we doing? How much was the police budget to catch these guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is wild. This is a misappropriation of our tax dollars. Oh my God, this is wild. These kids, they were making great money for college kids, but that's the catchphrase right there, for college kids. It's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money. In some of the other videos that I have, right, we talk about the jewelry heists. We talk about the jewelry heists out there in LA. The jewelry guys were making this much money doing smash and grabs. The jewelry guys were making this much money doing smash and grabs. You know, probably wasn't as consistent. This probably, as it said, it took a whole year to bust them, right? They have to collect the evidence and do stuff. But I'd rather do a smash and grab and get all this shit at once than have like the feds following me around or state police in unmarked vehicles. You know what I mean? Like, this is wild. I would never. Listen. Everything is hypothetical on this channel. We do not. We are super civilians here at this channel. We do not conduct crime. I am not a criminal. You know, everything that I have ever been accused of is either alleged or it's disposed. It's in the past, and I'm a better person now. All right. We do these videos for reactions, for clicks, for likes, and for educational purposes only. That being said, $120,000 is a lot of money if it's all going to one person, but when you put it all into perspective, that this is like an organization, that's not a lot of money going in and out of those doors for what is essentially a big deal cocaine bust in the year 2026. The cartel spends this much on gasoline in a week. You know what I mean? Probably less. You know, cocaine alone is billions of dollars. It's $1 billion industry. It is an economy in itself. So All right, though. All right, so we see it there firsthand. We were right about this. But that begs the question, like, what do you think's going to happen, guys? You think they're going to get life? Or you think these kids are going to skate on less than 10 years, right? Less than 10 years for a lot of these kids. Maybe even less than 5 for everybody except for the ringleader. But that's my point, Chris, is that cartels do have bank, but like they're the ones that are the real threat, that are the real bad guys. We're out here busting Penn State kids that are making an extra $70K. You know what I mean? It's a little wild, but the news is the news. We said that at the beginning. That a lot of this is the news being the news, right? But yeah, guys, you know, really appreciate it. Lying to you, tapping in. We love to see you, bro. Thanks for tuning in, Chris. Shout out to Chris and Robert. You know, everybody who stays tuned to the channel, I appreciate you guys. You know, I haven't been doing a lot of stuff. There's a lot of reactions that I should have done that I said were on the way. But the reality is this is a passion project for me. I will be releasing more reactions to stuff out of New Jersey as far as crime. The rap stuff has slowed down significantly. I thought I was going to do a whole segment on like New Jersey's renaissance in terms of the music that's coming out of New Jersey right now. But if you are interested in that stuff, go back to look at some of my reactions to the Newark drill scene and catch up on guys like Albial, Hard Luck, 38 Spesh, and just stay tuned to New Jersey rap, because that stuff is popping off right now. All right, guys. This is JFlood201. I'm signing out here, and I'll see you guys in the next video.